Hello, I'm Anne van Aaken. I'm Alexander von Humboldt Professor of Law and Economics, Legal Theory, Public International Law and European Law at the University of Hamburg in Germany, and what you see behind me is my home office. When the Berlin Wall fell, I was on a plane to Argentina for a student stage. All my friends went to Berlin, and I deeply regretted not to have been there for this historic moment of liberty and solidarity, which deeply touched my heart and mind. Also, but not only, since I had lived in Berlin before the fall and have seen the hardship of separation firsthand. And this is why I keep this one. I always wanted to understand the world and how humans can cooperate in building a just and equitable society. And I wanted to help to make it more just and equitable. There are many ways to do so. My way was through academic research. It is too early to say whether my wish came true to help building better institutions. I'm still on my way, and I hope falling walls will help me in this endeavor. My research breaks the wall on international cooperation. We live in a world of demultilateralization and weakened international cooperation, and this at a time when it is truly needed given the global problems we are facing. We have built our international institutions post World War II on the assumption of enlightened self-interest and rationality of all participants. This assumption may not hold any more, if it ever did. If so, we may need to rethink our institutions. In my research, I applied psychology and behavioral economics to international law and cooperation in order to understand what is going on, especially currently, and how to make institutions more adapted to realistic behavioral assumptions. This should help in making international cooperation more effective and sustainable. Lawyers tend to look at law only. We look at the books. I look at the people making and applying the law and how they behave. We assumed rationality, but now we know that people are not always self-interested nor rational. Economists have already taken their turn to that sort of research, and last year's Nobel Prize was given to development economists like Esther Duflo, who uses behavioral economics and randomized controlled trials. Behavioral economics is already successfully applied in national law and as a technique of regulation throughout the world. The other female economic Nobel Prize winner, Elinor Ostrom, could show for collective action problems that people are both better and worse than rational. They are better since not purely self-regarding, and worse in that they exhibit systematic deviations from rationality. The application of this research and conducting tailor-made experiments to international law were hitherto missing. There are two major strands of my research. The first, more conceptual and theoretical, and targeting more generally the way of how we think about international law. The other research projects are more applied and contain several smaller innovations. We look, for example, at the role of rewarding in international law. Just as with parents, the natural inclination is to say no and punish. But that may not be the only way, and often counterproductive and not conducive of what we want to achieve. Another project is to understand how frontline humanitarian negotiators show biases and heuristics and help them to negotiate better. Another example is the question which institutional features can help in global collective action problems such as climate change, or under what political conditions states take to protectionist measures. If we can identify features of international law or aspects of negotiations which support international cooperation, that can make the world a better place. Sometimes more globally, as with climate change, sometimes locally. For example, if a negotiator from Médecins Sans Frontières or the International Committee of the Red Cross gets access to people in need. Many questions remain unanswered. The research is still in its infancy. Most prominently, how psychological insights on the individual level play out in collectives and group decision-making, and how they play out in different national institutions and cultures. What keeps me awake at night is how to get access to the professionals making and applying international law in order to conduct experiments with them and to make them listen. I've had some access, but I need more. What sort of methods to apply next to the experimental research is also one of the questions I have. My mother is also a lawyer by training and very much understands the shortcomings of the traditional approach in the legal field. She adores what I'm doing and has always been super helpful. Our daughter is too young to understand yet, but hopefully she will benefit later in life from the research.